to take us out for the night, we've got Yaz, who's going to give us some treats. Did I read that right? You're giving us treats?
Yes, I am.
Great.
What I want to talk to you all about tonight is just a few APIs for web developers out there to add to their own, day-to-day applications and improve the user experience of it. It's all about adding to the user experience. Now, this is a very, very shorter version of what I do normally at the 1 hour, but let's see how it goes. So we all know that web performance is important, but sometimes we can't improve the web performance because of limitations such as not having enough budget or even not having different priorities in a project. So in those circumstances, we need to take some more actions, and that's what here tonight we're talking about. Before we do that, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Yas. I'm a web developer and as of recently an Azure Technical Trainer at Microsoft. I'm really glad to be here and talk to you all. And you can find me at Twitter, and I do a lot of blog posts on web development related topics, and hopefully some more Azure stuff coming up. So tonight I'm going to talk about some APIs that are available in most of the modern browsers, and you can use them even now if you want to add a bit of a better user experience for your users. So the first one is Network Information API. Network Information API allows you to detect connection changes. Let's say a user is using a mobile, they're on a 4G network, and they go on a train and they go in a tunnel, and now suddenly they're on a 3G or even a 2G network. This API allows you to be aware of those changes and adapt to those changes basically on that. The way you do it is you have to detect the connection. As of now, they have different namings in different browsers, so you have to do a bit of a feature detection. I'll put down a link to all of these APIs later down the track. And all you need to do at the end, just check the effective type of that connection object. Now on Chrome, it's just called connection, which is really nice. And I'll show you a demo quickly, really shortly to go through that. But before I do that, the browser support for this particular API is just at the moment Chrome and Edge. Firefox and Safari haven't implemented this particular API yet. Now, time for a bit of a demo now. Let me see if you can see my Visual Studio Code and the fonts are okay and everything looks good. This particular application here is just a normal application. And all it does is letting people to go on and check up time tables for trains and book tickets and whatnot. Now, in this particular website, there are a lot happening, and the performance is not really great. This is a sample app, but this can happen in reality in a lot of different places and whatnot. So what I wanted to talk about here is that if I open up my network connection, my network tab here, which I have, and if I basically do filter based on images, you can see like I'm here, I'm having a bunch of images loaded, and these images are potentially pretty large, especially if the optimization on images hasn't happened yet and whatnot. But what you can do, if I basically change this to, let's say, a slow 3G here and refresh my page, is that you can see that once the page refreshes, all of these images, hopefully, if I haven't commented out anything, will be, let me just quickly come in here and check my code just to make sure we're on the same page. So if I go to home and yep, so yeah. So basically what we are trying to do here is to detect whether the connection is a slow connection and change an image, which was train JPEG with a train low-res JPEG. So if I come back into my application here, this here, you see that the previous image is not there, but this train low-res image is sort of loaded. And the previous one was 27K, this one is 6K, but you get the idea. Like you can do a lot of things with this particular API. You can do, you can replace all your images with placeholders and whatnot. So it's a really great API which allows you to monitor network information. Now the next one is the page visibility API. What this does for you is allows you to monitor whether the user is active on looking at your website or not. Now, most of the times, if you're like me, you have a lot of tabs open on your browser and you flick between tabs all the time. Now, imagine you're doing that on your, let's say, metered connection, or even on your mobile device where you're having a lot of tabs open and you flick between these tabs as you go on. Now, when that happens, sometimes we need to be cautious of that. Like, let's say I'm on a page and I'm now refreshing, I'm on a different tab. But previously I had a video open on my previous tab, and now that video is running and consuming my data. Now I want to prevent that for my user. So what I do here, I can use this API to detect whether this the current tab, my application, is visible and the user is looking at it or not. Now, a couple of use cases for this is like video playback, image carousels, server calls. You can even prevent server calls to happen and prevent any further resources to load, or you can switch off or switch on your sound based on like different scenarios. Again, you need to do a bit of a feature detection. It's not called the same. The event is not called the same in all major browsers, but you can find out those by using this bit of code for feature detection. And once you've done that, you basically add an event listener to the document, and that will be it. Your callback will get called, and you have that particular functionality. Now, if I go back to my application here, I think this would basically potentially, let me see if my application hasn't died yet. No, hopefully it hasn't died yet. This one in particular, if I come into my console app, you can see that the page visible message is here. This means that this particular page is now visible. And if I now open a new tab here, and I'm not sure if you could potentially, if I unmute this here, can you hear the voice? Yeah, so this video is now playing. Obviously, my system is playing up a bit, but the video is playing. If I open a new tab and I'm navigated away from this particular website, the video pauses behind the scene, and I can go back at any time and the video starts again. So look at the sound now. If I go away, the sound is a stop. That means the video is a stop at the background. And if I go back, the video is a stop, and you can see like all of this stuff happening here as well. Now that also is a really great API that you can use, and it adds a lot of values for your users as well. And the last API I wanted to talk about was the intersection observer API. Now I don't have too much time. This particular API allows you to monitor when something appears in your viewport. So if you're looking at a particular item and you want to trigger an event when that happens and when it appears on your viewport, you can definitely use this API to do that. Now, skipping the code part, let me just show you how it works. If I come into my image gallery here, you can see that if I change this back to online, and if I come into here, you can see that I have 3 images loaded here as part of my page load. And if I scroll down, you can see like all of these images are shown on this particular page. But I have way more images on this particular page. If I come and open up my gallery here, you can see like I've got roughly about 8 images on this particular page, but not all of them are shown initially. What I need to do here is to scroll down a bit, and you can see like this still is playing. Just give me a second. I get to play that thing here. Okay, so you can see like I've got these 3 images loaded, and then if I scroll down, it actually triggers loading more images as I go down. So it sort of helps me to try to preserve some basically data and also make the page load much, much faster, especially if I have too many of these elements or images or whatever it is that you have on your page, they're visible. So if I go down, this still keeps loading what I have until I reach the number 8. And that's all you need to do to enable that particular experience. Now, in terms of how you do it, you have to create a new intersection observer instance and give it a callback. And all you need to do is query some of the elements that you'd like to add this particular event handler into, and for each of those, just call the observe of that intersection observer instance, and the rest will handle. The rest will be handled for you. Now, in this instance, I've replaced the source attribute with data source just to prevent the browser from triggering that image to be loaded. And I'm just replacing that with the source. So all I need to do, I'm replacing the data source with the source, and it will keep loading the images as I go into my application. Now, if I skip all of those, there are quite a few APIs that I usually play around, and there are heaps of more that I've blogged about on my blog. So definitely check this out. And I'm hoping that this will add a bit of, just make you curious about going and finding more about these particular browser APIs that will really, really benefit and will increase the user experience like by a lot. Thanks for coming to DDD by Night tonight. We're super glad to see you here, and hopefully you've had a wonderful night so far. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yaz. That was very, very interesting.